Today's class is Atomic Structure Part 3.
Now, today we are discussing about the last part of the atomic structure. First portion is Sommerfeld's theory. Number one, Sommerfeld's theory. In our last class, we have explained, we have already discussed the limitations of Bohr's theory. Now, today, we are discussing at first Sommerfeld's theory. Sommerfeld actually proposed that there are two types of pathway. One is circular pathway around the nucleus, the orbit in which electron revolve around the nucleus is a circular pathway, and then another is an elliptical pathway in which the electron revolves around the nucleus. In circular pathway, as the radius remains same in all the sides, so the distance from the nucleus of the electron remains same throughout the orbit. But here the distance varies. Here the minimum distance shows this is the minor axis and this portion is the major axis. This part is the minor axis. So electron, when here this is the nearest part of the with respect to the nucleus, but when the electron resides at this part position, then that is the farthest part with respect to the nucleus. So Sommerfeld proposed two types of pathways around the nucleus. Now, if or whenever that means the electron revolves around the nucleus in such type of a circular pathway, circular orbit, the velocity, that means the distance with respect to the nucleus, distance of electron remains fixed, and hence the velocity remains unaffected. But the problem arises if or whenever the electron moves around this type of circular elliptical pathway. When an electron is here, it is the nearest position, so the attraction with respect to the nucleus is the highest, and hence its velocity will be maximum. And when it is at this position, that means the farthest part, then the attraction is the minimum, and hence its velocity also will be the minimum. So in a particular orbit, its velocity fluctuates. So actually, what is happening in case of electron when rounding off the nucleus? What is happening? So there are two different discussions, different pathways. Einstein proposed that if such type of circular pathway in which the electron revolves around the nucleus, the velocity as remains fixed, therefore the momentum also remains fixed. So though the electron revolves the nucleus in a two-dimensional orbit, it continuously follows same pathway. But if or whenever its velocity fluctuates in such type of orbit, in case of an elliptical orbit, if or whenever it revolves the nucleus in an elliptical orbit, its velocity constantly fluctuates. So during its movement around the nucleus, as its velocity fluctuates, it has to change its pathway from a two-dimensional pathway to three-dimensional pathway. That means its new pathway will be like this. Like this, two-dimensional converts to a three-dimensional pathway. Hence, so actually, again the question arises, actually what is happening in case of this? So again, Einstein suggested that if it follows the same pathway, it remains in two-dimensional motion, and hence the electronic spectrum will be a line spectrum. Electronic spectrum, but this band spectrum will be a line spectrum, like this, and this line spectrum. But if or whenever it follows such type of pathway, the single line hence further subdivided into a different or finer lines. So what will be happening at that time? Balmer shows different frequencies, that means different wavelengths with respect to this Rydberg constant into z square 1 by 2 square minus 1 by n2 square, where n2 is greater than 2. So electron when jumps from higher orbit to the lower orbit, it follows this type of expressions. Balmer series of spectral lines are obtained, and this proved that since different spectral lines are obtained, so this proved that this is not a two-dimensional pathway, rather it is three-dimensional pathway. So it follows such type of spiral movement with respect to the nucleus in 3D pathway. This is the actually Sommerfeld's theory, which actually Summerfield explained that, so it is not a two-dimensional pathway, rather it is a three-dimensional pathway in which electron rounding of the nucleus, it revolves around nucleus in a circular, instead of circular it is rounding of the nucleus in an elliptical pathway. So so circular pathway is a special case of that elliptical pathway in which the radius is constant. That means the major axis is equal to the minor axis, in case of circular pathway. This is a special case of the elliptical pathway. So this is completed, Summerfield's theory. Now we are discussing the second point. Today's second point is quantum numbers, different quantum numbers. Now suppose you are searching for the address of a particular person. Suppose you are searching an address of a particular person. Now first you have to find out the apartment, and then in that particular apartment you have to find out the floor number. So floor number, we know that floor number, it is nothing but a two-dimensional part. Floor number, it is the number of the orbit denoted by the principal quantum number n. This is the principal quantum number n, denoted by the n, which is equal to 1, 2, 3, etc. and so on. These are the known as the Bohr stationary orbits. So principal quantum number. So that floor number denotes the principal quantum number n. It is a two-dimensional concept. Now after reaching the particular floor, so you have to find out the flat number. That means suppose 201, 202, 304, etc. and so on. These are the flat number. So flat number means that is the room number, and that room number is nothing but the three-dimensional part. So room number, you have to find out again the room number, which is nothing but the three-dimensional part, because it is room, not a floor only. Floor is the two-dimensional concept, but room is a 3D concept, and it is denoted by L, which is known as the azimuthal quantum number, and is denoted by 0 to n-1 for a particular value of n. Next, now for 0 to n-1, suppose n equal to 2 here, n equal to suppose 1, then the value of L will be 0, n equal to 2, then the value of L will be 0 minus 1, that means second orbit, that is first will be 0 and 1, for n equal to 3, that will be 0, 1 and 2, 0 to n-1, so including 0, n-1 for second orbit, 2 minus 1, that will be 2, highest, n equal to 3, 0 to 3 minus 1, that means 0 to 2, that means 0, 1, 2, etc. and so on. So these are the subcells. L actually azimuthal quantum number, it denotes the shape of subcells. Now what are the shape? Suppose S subcell, when L equal to 0, this denotes the S subcell. S is known as the spherical, so it is a three-dimensional spherical space. When L equal to 1, that denotes the P subcell. It is nothing but a dumbbell shape, and this portion is called the node part, and these are called the lobes. So according to the quantum mechanical concept, electron has no tendency to reside at the node. That means at the node, the probability of finding an electron is 0. But at the lobes, the probability of finding an electron is the maximum. So electron must reside at the lobes, not at the node. L equal to 1. Then L equal to 2. L equal to 2, that is for D subcell, and it has generally a double shape. There are 4 lobes with respect to one node. But when L equal to 3, that is F subcell, it has no fixed shape. Already its shape is continuously changing. Now these are actually subcells. So room number. Now after reaching the room number, you have knocked the door, somebody opened it, and you are asking them, actually you are asking to meet with Mr. X, with whom you want to meet. Now suppose he or she is directed to meet with Mr. X. Now Mr. X, where he actually now reside, suppose in bathroom or kitchen room or whatever, bedroom, etc. and so on. So you have to enter in that particular space. So that space is called, that particular space is called the, so that is known as the particular room. Particular room inside the flat, inside the particular room, and that is also a three-dimensional concept where the probability of finding that person is maximum, and that is called orbital probability. This is a three-dimensional space where the probability of finding that person is maximum. It is the orbital concept, and it is denoted by M, that is magnetic quantum number. Magnetic quantum number, the values are from minus L to plus L including 0, from minus L to plus L including 0. Now these values can be summarized in this. In case of L equal to 0, that will be 0, because from minus 0 to plus 0 only one value, there is no value for minus 0 and plus 0. But for 0 there is also 0, but for 1 there are three values, minus 1, 0 and plus 1. All these are, that means this is S subcell, this is S subcell, this is P subcell, this is S, this is P, this is D, etc. and so on. So minus 1, 0 and plus 1. Now 3, for 3, 0, that means 0, 1, minus 1, 0 and plus 1. For 2, minus 2, minus 1, 0 and plus 1, plus 2, etc. and so on. So these are the actually values of M, magnetic quantum number, for each and every value of L. Now come to the last point. Now after reaching that particular room, I have seen that there are two persons. So you have to now find out actual name of that particular persons to whom we want to, that means he or she want to meet. That means suppose Mr. X. So after telling him the name, that is the name, so particular person will respond. That name of that person is denoted by the, name of that particular person is denoted by S, which is known as the spin quantum number. Spin quantum number. So spin quantum number has only two values, either plus half and minus half. But plus half and minus half has no particular significance. Actually it is a quantum mechanical concept. If or whenever, if we use that, we know that electron when moves in a particular pathway, it generates two such type of perpendicular with respect to this pathway, two particular field known as the magnetic field and electrical field. So magnetic field and electrical field, if the field is towards the viewer, then the movement of the electron is anti-clockwise according to the right thumb rule. Right thumb rule. If like this, suppose, see that if the movement is towards the viewer, this is the right thumb rule, towards the viewer, so see the movement of my finger. So see the movement of my finger. In case of right thumb rule, the movement of my finger is anti-clockwise, so the movement of the electron is also anti-clockwise, and that is denoted by plus R. If the magnetic field is away from the viewer, then see that the fingers of my right hand is clockwise, that means minus half. Clockwise movement of the electron denotes the minus half. This is actually the quantum mechanical concept regarding these four quantum numbers, N, L, M and S. So all these four quantum numbers, actually among these four quantum numbers, all these four quantum numbers are needed to explain the electron in a particular orbit. If or whenever, if we lose any one of these four, then we can't reach the desired electron, towards the desired electron. That means these four quantum numbers are the address of an electron inside the atom. So N, L, M, S, among these four quantum numbers, N, L and M are derived from the Schrodinger's wave equation, but 8s is not. S is completely different. It's a practical determined data, so you have to find out these particularly. Now these are the all about the quantum numbers. Now the third part is shape of orbitals. Already you have seen that the shape of the subcell, three-dimensional shape. S is spherical, P is peripheral, D is diffused, and F is fundamental. These are the four names. S is spherical. So with respect to this magnetic field, magnetic quantum number is also spherical. It has no different shape. But P is peripheral. Actually there are three different orbitals, -1, 0, +1. So three different orbitals are along three mutually perpendicular axes. Along x-axis, the lobes are like this. Suppose px. Along y-axis, the lobe is like this. Along y-axis, the lobe is like this. This is suppose py. And along z-axis, the lobe is like this. Along z-axis, this is pz. So these are the shapes of the three p orbitals, px, py, and pz. Now, in case of n equal to 2, that means d subcell n equal to 2. For d subcell, there are 5 different orbitals: -2, -1, 0, +1, +2. That means of these 5 orbitals, the 3's are like this. Suppose this is x-axis, this is y-axis. So 4 lobes are in between x and y-axis. In between x and y-axis, known as the dxy. Like this, in between y and z-axis, that will be dyz. In between z and x-axis, that will be dxz. And the two different lobes are like this. Suppose x and y-axis lie mutually perpendicular. The 4 lobes are on the axis. Known as the dx square minus y square. This is dx square minus y square. And the last is dz square on the z-axis. That means the lobe is on the z-axis only. But there is no node. There is also a lobe. That means electron can reside in that particular region, and this is called dz square orbital. The exceptional part of this orbital is only it has 2 lobes, but all the orbitals had 4 lobes. dxy, dyz, dzx, the 4 lobes are in between 2 axes. In case of dx square minus y square and dz square, the lobes are on the axis. But among these 5 type orbitals, dz square has only 2 lobes. So these are the shape of orbitals. Now total number of electrons. Now our next part is number of electrons. Each and every orbital can reside maximum 2 electrons. Rather, we can decide here. So these are the shapes actually, S, P, D, but actually F orbital has no fixed shape. So F subcell has no fixed shape. That's why F orbital has also no fixed shape. So these are the shape of the different orbitals. Now these are the shape of the different orbitals. Now first, now I am discussing about the calculation of total number of L and M with respect to a particular n. So total number of L, first suppose n equal to 1, total number of L is equal to 1. So for n particular number of the orbit, the total number of L equal to m. That means 0 to n minus 1. That's why total number will be equal to n. Now total number of m with respect to L. So minus L to plus L including 0. Therefore 2L plus 1. These are the total values of m, like this. Suppose in case of L equal to 1. Therefore m equal to 2 into 1 plus 1. That means for p subcell there are 3 orbitals. For L equal to 0, that means S subcell. So m equal to 2 into 0 plus 1. That means only 1 orbital. L subcell, S subcell has only 1 orbital. P subcell has 3 orbitals. Now L equal to 2 for D subcell, M equal to 2 into 2 plus 1, that means 5 orbitals. So there are 5 orbitals minus 2, 2 plus 2 including this. So these are the calculations of the total number of L and M. Now we are discussing about the rules, defining rules and principles to explain the electronic configuration in a particular atom. So first the rule, Aufbau principle. These are the rules and principles. First, Aufbau principle. Actually, according to Aufbau principle, Aufbau is not a German scientist, but it is a German term to explain that from lower to higher energy. Actually, electron when fields in a particular atom, the orbit of a particular atom, the lower energy of the orbit field first and then higher energy. So Aufbau principle states that electron feels the lower energy at first and then higher energy. But how do you consider which one is lower energy and which one is higher energy after the discovering of the L, that means subcell? So according to Bohr-Bodies rule, we can, so that means lower energy field first, then higher energy. This is the actually Aufbau's principle. But according to Bohr-Bodies rule, higher the value of n plus L, higher will be the energy. Higher the value of n plus L, higher will be the energy. If that for two subcells n plus L values are equal, then higher the value of n higher, energy higher. So higher the value of n, L will be higher. Like this, suppose 2s subcell, n, L, n plus L. We can find out the values of n, L and n plus L for different subcells like 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 3d, 4s. Suppose for n, for 2s subcell n equal to 2, L equal to 0. For s subcell we know that L equal to 0, so 2 plus 0 means 2. For 2p, 2 plus 1, that means 3. For 3s, 3 plus 0, that means 3. For these two orbitals, or these two subcells, actually n plus L values are equal. But we know that higher the value of n, higher will be the energy. So 2p will be filled first and then 3s. Now for 3p, 3 plus 1, that is 4. 3d, 3 plus 2, that is 5. But 4s, 4 plus 0, that is 4. So the energy of 3d is greater than 4s. That means first 1s, then 2s, then 2p, then 3s, then 3p, then 4s, then 3d, etc. and so on. Better, we can draw a particular diagram like this. Suppose 1s at first, then 2s, 2p, then 3s, 3p, 3d, then 4s, 4p, 4d, 4f, then 5s, 5p, 5d, then 6s, 6p, then last 7s. By arrow marking all these, we can draw or we can complete the concept of Bohr-Bodies rule. First arrow 1s, second 2s, third 2p, 3s, fourth 3p, 4s. So smaller the size of the arrow, smaller will be the energy. So first smallest size 1s, energy of the 1s is the smallest, and 2s, then 2s, 2p, 3s. In between these two, the energy of the arrow is higher at the end point, at the actually head point, but not at the tail point. So energy of 3s is greater than that of 2p. We know that energy of the arrow is higher at the head point, but not at the tail point. So at tail point its energy is somewhat less. So 2p is less energized than that of 3s. 3p, then 4s, 3p, then 4s, 3d, 4p, 5s. That means 3d, then 4p, 5s, etc. and so on. So we can draw such type of diagram and explain the energy of the electron in a particular orbit. Now, if or whenever in a monoelectronic system, for a monoelectronic system like hydrogen, helium plus, lithium 2 plus, the other orbit which remains vacant, like for one monoelectronic system only one is one. So 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p all remain vacant, and all the these subcells have same energy, equal energized. That means for that monoelectronic system, 2s equal to 2p equal to 3s equal to 3p, etc. and so on. So all these subcells have equal energy level. Now this is the Auburn's principle. The next point is actually Hund's rule. Hund's rule. Hund's rule is nothing but it is called the maximum spin multiplicity rule. Hund's rule. If or whenever electron fills in a set of degenerate orbitals, which are called degenerate orbitals, like p subcell, it contains three different orbitals, px, py and pz, for which the n plus l values are equal. Suppose it is 2p, for 2p it is 2 plus 1, that means 3. For all these orbitals, the n plus l values are equal. So they are same energy level, and such orbitals are called the degenerate orbitals. So like this d orbitals, all the 5 d orbitals are a set of degenerate orbitals. So for all these 5 orbitals, the energy remains same. Therefore, such a degenerate orbitals, when filled by electrons, the electrons first singly occupied, orbitals are singly occupied by the electrons first and then paired up with opposite spin. According to Hund's rule, the orbitals occupy singly, electron actually singly filled singly by the electron first and then fills up or pairs up by opposite spin. Now why this occurs? Because suppose in case of nitrogen atomic number 7, the electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2 and 2p3. This is the electronic configuration. 2s maximum electron, 2p contains 3 electrons because the atomic number is 7. But how these 3 electrons are distributed in 3 different orbitals? How? Because there are different arrangements. Suppose 2 electrons are here and 1 electron is here. And in case of second arrangement, the electrons are arranged like this. In case of third arrangement, the electrons are arranged like this. So if we calculate the spin multiplicity value, that is for clockwise spin plus half, for anti-clockwise spin minus half, and again for clockwise spin plus half. So overall will be plus half. Here also plus half, minus half, plus half, plus half. But for this, plus half into 3. That means 3 by 2. This is the maximum. So that arrangement is according to the Hund's rule, which has the maximum spin multiplicity value. So it fills up oddly with singly occupied with parallel spin and then paired up with the opposite spin. So this is the Hund's rule of maximum spin multiplicity. But in case of chromium and copper, chromium, that means chromium 24 and copper 29. In these two cases, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d4. This will be the actual arrangement. But D subcell contains 5 orbitals. If it contains only 4 electrons, then one orbital remains vacant. So one electron from the 4s subcell, it jumps to the vacant orbital to 3d. So the electronic configuration becomes 4s1, 3d5. Same in case of copper, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d9. Again, the d9 configuration, which means there are 4 paired up electrons but 1 unpaired. This decreases the stability because 4s subcell here remains filled up with paired up electrons. So that electron, then one electron from 4s jumps to the 3d orbital to paired up it. So one electron will transfer from 4s to 3d, make it 4s1, 3d10. These are the electronic configuration, exceptional electronic configuration of chromium and copper. Now the last point is after Hund's rule, that is the so first we have discussed already Auburn's principle, then Hund's rule, and last is Pauli's exclusion principle. According to this principle, Pauli's exclusion principle, no 2 electron, actually an orbital can accommodate maximum 2 electrons. An orbital can accommodate maximum 2 electrons with opposite spin. So no 2 electrons in an atom can have 4 quantum numbers the same. This is the actual statement of the Pauli's exclusion principle. An orbital can accommodate maximum 2 electrons. So S orbital, that means first orbit contains only one orbital, so it can accommodate maximum 2 electrons. Again, second orbit contains 4 different orbitals, 1s and 3p. So 4 into 2, that means 8 electrons. For the third orbit, there are 1 plus 3, 4 plus 5, 9 orbitals. So 9 into 2, that means 18 electrons. So first orbit contains 2 electrons, second orbit contains 8 electrons, and third orbit contains 18 electrons in this particular concept. Electronic configuration. First, the question is, we know that in case of the ring test of nitrate radical, Fe2 plus ferrous sulfate we have used actually freshly prepared solution. Freshly prepared. Why this term is used in case of ferrous sulfate solution? Freshly prepared. We know that the configuration of iron is argon core 4s2 3d6. This is the atomic number of iron is 26. 4s2 3d6. Now in case of Fe2 plus argon core 4s0, because the electron removed from the last cell, valence cell, not from the last subcell, but the valence cell, and that is 4. So 4s becomes 0, 3d6, and the configuration is like this: 3d6, d subcell contains 5 orbitals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but 1 electron is paired. So the actual spin multiplicity value will be plus up minus up will be cancelled, so plus up into 4, that means 2. This is the spin multiplicity value. But in case of Fe3 plus, if or whenever Fe2 plus exposed in the air, it readily gets oxidized by removing 1 electron from its valence cell 3d6 to form Fe3 plus. Now in case of Fe3 plus, the configuration is argon core 4s0 3d5, and it contains 5 unpaired electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the spin multiplicity value will be 5 into half, that means 2.5, which is more than that of this iron 2 plus. So hence Fe3 plus is more stable than that of Fe2 plus. That means half filled orbital, half filled p or d orbital or d subcell, sorry, d subcell is more stable, half filled as well as full filled, always full filled. P or d orbital is more stable than any other configuration, and that's why ferrous sulfate is used freshly prepared, should be used freshly prepared, otherwise it will be oxidized to Fe3 plus and cannot give the ring test properly. So this is the all about the atomic structure. This is the electronic configuration we have already discussed. So if you have any doubt, then ask me and write me in the comment box.